Okay. So thank you guys very much for tuning in this morning to learn a little bit about Market Snapshot. As I just mentioned there, we are recording this session, so I'll be able to shoot you all a recording if you do want to review it on your own or however you see fit. So we'll get all this out to you for sure. But today we're just going to basically go over a few of the basics of Market Snapshot, why it has a lot of value to the average consumer, and how it can help drive more business for you guys, essentially. Bit of background, obviously, hopefully most of you guys know me. I'm Luke. I'm the top producer account manager for Myloff Aubuchon team of companies, and we've been working really closely with Jeff and Natalie, Diane, and her team over the last few months here, really ramping up top producer CRM. But one of the pieces we offer that's really popular that wasn't available in Cape Coral is Market Snapshot. And much like our webinar last week where we talked about the MLS connectivity that we now have between Top Producer and Cape Coral MLS, the fact that we have Market Snapshot is really attributed solely to you guys, because I was able to go to our industry relations people and say, look, we don't have Market Snapshot in this area. We now have over 100 people using our services in just the Myloff Aubuchon companies. So let's make this happen. So you guys were a huge catalyst to making this happen, to justifying the fees we pay to the MLS to make it happen. So I want to thank you very much for that. And you're also really being the first people to be introduced to it as well. So you really have a chance to kind of corner the market, if you will, with Market Snapshot in a couple different ways I'll show you here. So just a bit of background on sort of how we got to where we are today, and again, a huge thank you to you guys for helping to make it happen. So what is a Market Snapshot? Well, you're looking at one on your screen here, okay, and this is one I actually worked on with Jeff and Natalie and built this obviously for your area. And I'm just going to talk a little bit about what's included on a Market Snapshot, and again, this is the fulfillment piece. So when you're sending this to a prospect or to a consumer, this is what they receive from you. And you'll notice it is branded, obviously. It comes from your email address. So there's no mistaking that this is, from you to the consumer. Top Producer is not sending it for you. It's sent from your email. And what you'll see here is we've actually focused this on a home address. So you can see the home address in the top bar of the Market Snapshot. So when we're setting up this snapshot, and we'll talk a little bit more about that, we do input a home address. In this case, this could be built for a seller if you're talking about their address. If you have a buyer who's interested in a specific property, it could be that address as well. Now, what I'll show you right away here is when we created this snapshot, Jeff's feeling was that it was a bit too wide-ranging because he was looking for something really just in his specific neighborhood. And you'll notice when we look at this snapshot that kind of covers a wider area, we're showing a median sold price of $210,000. So what we were able to do was use Market Snapshot's advanced settings to drill down and check this out, create a much smaller macro version of Snapshot in just the area where the values make sense, and you'll notice the median sold price jumped up to $735. So just a kind of a look at what's versatile about Snapshot in that sense. But let's talk about what you're actually seeing on your screen here. So when you send this out to a prospect, again, showing them a home address in their snapshot creates a real sense of that this snapshot was only created for them. This is not a snapshot of the Cape Coral market. This is a snapshot of their home and what's going on around it in their neighborhood. And you'll notice their home will be spotlighted with a different icon than the rest of the icons on the map. And what you're seeing on the map, pretty simple. Green icons are active listings. Blue icons are active within the last 2 weeks. And the red icons are the recent sales. And this map is interactive, so you can actually, at the top of the map, click on or off the different types of properties, and it will only display what you choose. But what we're showing people here is real-time MLS data. So we are drawing this right from the Cape Coral MLS. If you think about Zestimates, right, from Zillow.com, I don't know if you guys have ever had to combat that when you go into a listing appointment, but that data is based on tax records. It's out of date. Listings that are showing here as active may not even be inventory anymore, right? So this being live MLS data comes directly from your MLS on the day that it's sent out. So if you ever do have that nightmare scenario where you walk into a listing appointment and somebody has the Zestimate printout on their desk, right, you can really use Market Snapshot to paint more of a realistic picture for them. So the listings you're seeing on the map, again, it's very much interactive. You can zoom in and out, and you can click on any individual listing. And you'll notice in the list of properties on the right-hand side, when you click on a property, we will gravitate to that property in the list. So if I click on this sold in the middle of the page, there it is. If we click on an active listing, same idea. And what this allows the viewer to do is drill down and click on that property, which I'll do now. Now, first of all, we do bring over all the photos from the MLS. Now, this property only had a couple of photos. It looks like it's a new home build. But you will see every single photo on the MLS. Let's see if we can find one with a few more here. There we go. So people can literally swipe through this stuff if they're on a mobile device, right, which is really, really helpful to them. So as you're looking through these photos, you notice over on the right we've got details about the property. So if this is a buyer, they're getting a breakdown of sort of all the MLS details about the property. As we keep going down further, you can check out these schools nearby. So here we have all the schools, the student-to-teacher ratio, and the grade schools rating as well. So they can actually compare schools in the area. And if we keep scrolling down a little further, this is something brand new we've just added to Market Snapshot. It's called a Neighborhood Walk Score. So traditionally on Snapshot, we've always wanted to show the amenities in an area. But in this case, what you're seeing is we actually show how far walking distance they are from the subject property. All right, and we actually grade that walk score out of 100. Now, obviously, this is a low walk score. Cape Coral is a unique area, as I know from having been there. So it's not, maybe it won't have quite the same impact, but if you get into a more high-density area, or if you're talking to millennials who happen to be buying, walking distance is really, really important to them. So for people that aren't walking anywhere, they still get to see how many restaurants, coffee bars, grocery stores, parks, transit, etc., right? So for every single property you see on the Market Snapshot, we provide this depth of information, right? Now, if anyone wants to ask you about any property on the Snapshot, that lead form down here goes right to you, okay? So we're positioning this as your inventory, and you're the person to talk to about it. The most you'll see is a brokerage name for listings we're using, courtesy of Coldwell Banker, courtesy of, et cetera, but no contact info for the listing agent. It's just a mention of the brokerage's name because we're required to do that by the MLS. So when you're building a snapshot, you do put in some criteria to narrow down the comps. So things like property type, you can put in price range, square footage, and as we looked at as comparing this snapshot to this one, you can really narrow down the area with the the sub areas provided by the MLS, and we'll talk a bit about that. But once we take this data and we put together the market snapshot, you'll see four main metrics at the top of the page: average days on market in this neighborhood, median sold price, we talked about that. We're not coming out here and saying, hey, here's what your home is worth. We want you to make that decision when the time comes. But we do say, show them a median sold price. Thirdly, what percentage of asking price people are getting in those areas. And the last one is whether the inventory has gone up or down in the last 90 days. Right? So you're probably already sensing these are pressure points you can use to get people who are on the fence into the market. I mean, if you can show people that homes in their area are selling at within 4% of asking, it's a good time to get into the market. If you can show a buyer that the inventory is decreasing, it creates more urgency for them. So there's different ways you can kind of leverage those individual metrics. But this is what a market snapshot looks like. So the strategy, first and foremost, is to sign up every single person in your database to receive your market snapshot. Okay, and there's a couple different ways you can do this. But once you sign someone up, you decide how often the snapshot is sent out, and it goes out automatically. You don't have to maintain it. You don't have to remember to send it out. You don't have to compile the data. Just decide how often it's sent, and it will go out automatically for you. And this is integrated with your top producer. So if we go into top producer here, and let me pull up a contact record. Bear with me here. Here we go. So in every single contact record, you might have actually noticed in the lower right-hand corner there's a Create New Snapshot button. Now this wouldn't have been able to work in the past, but if you do have Market Snapshot and we integrate it, you simply click on Create New Snapshot, and check this out. It kind of loads in any existing information you already have for this person. So that would include their email, their home address, details about their property, and for some reason it's just taking a second here, and here we go. So all you have to do at this point is, again, decide how often you want your snapshot to be sent. And you can send it as often as weekly, or as infrequently as annually, or all of these different intervals in between. Okay, but it is completely automatic. So if all you want to do is send it out, great. Now, what I was talking about earlier is you can go to the advanced settings of Snapshot and really start to drill down. If you have a picky buyer and you want to be able to kind of drill down in their area, you can see this is actually built for a different MLS as far as my demo version goes, but we open up all these criteria provided by your MLS to choose from. So you can really drill down and customize. But it is as simple as that. Create new snapshot, and the criteria pops up, and you just decide how often you send it. Now, there is one other way you can do this as well that we've just added to Top Producer, and we call it the mass snapshot. And you can actually go to your contacts and search for all of them, which I'll just do quickly here. Select everybody in your database and click on Send Market Snapshots at the bottom of the page. And if I click Send Snapshots here, it's going to go through every single person in that list and sign each one of them up based on their address in Top Producer. So you can sign people up individually, but if you've already got a substantial database in Top Producer, we make it this simple to get people rolling. So again, the idea is sign up every single person in your database. The stat that I've shared with you guys before, and there's a couple of them actually I want to share today, from the last year's NAR survey, a couple of things jump out. 74% of buyers say they'd work with the same agent again. Only 21% actually did. Okay, so there's a huge gap there. Now, in the same survey, 79% of those people said they wanted to receive regular market updates from their neighborhood. So you've got a huge gap in terms of people that want to work with you but aren't because you're not staying in touch. And again, not painting everyone with the same brush, but industry-wide, this is an issue. And then you've also got those same people that are hungry for MLS data and they're not getting it. I mean, there's a reason why 90 million people go on Zillow and Trulia and Realtor.com every month. This is the data they're already looking for, right? So if you can be the deliverer of this information, you're cutting a whole bunch of people out of the picture. So again, the idea is sign up every single person in your database. Now, there's a couple ways you can do this. If you've already got their email and their address, I would suggest just go ahead and sign them up. You know, don't wait for them to do it. And I'm going to show you some ways you can invite them to sign up. But wherever possible, just be proactive. Remember, you don't have to discriminate with this. Everyone wants this data. It doesn't matter if they're not going to buy or sell for 5 or even 10 years. They still want to know what their neighbors' houses are selling for, right? And if you click on any one of these red icons on the map, this is what the property actually sold for in the MLS. If I click on this property and drill down, I know that my neighbor on Southwest 32nd sold their home for $191,900. Right? So people don't know where to find this sold data. You can find it on Market Snapshot. It's accurate. It's up to date. If you ask anyone if they want to know what their neighbor's house just sold for, nobody will say no to that question. You know what I mean? This is information people want. So first step, sign up every single person in your database to receive it. Now, secondly, we have some really neat lead generation strategies that come with Market Snapshot. And they usually trigger around what we call a landing page or a squeeze page that looks like this. And these are our brand new landing pages. So this is where we really start to distinguish ourselves from perhaps what an MLS can do, because we know you can sign up your buyers on the MLS to receive listings, right? But that's going to be a very niche part of your database, right? What about the person that's not going to buy for 3 or 4 years? Do they want every listing dripped on them? Probably not. But do they want to be updated on the market? Yes, they do, right? So so it's a much wider audience than setting someone up on the MLS to receive listing drips. I mean, you'll still want to do that, I think, for the active buyer when the time comes. But that really distinguishes it from what the MLS can offer. The other big distinction between Market Snapshot and what your MLS does is the lead capture capability it provides. So this landing page that you're seeing here comes with Market Snapshot. And the strategy here is pick a domain name that's local to the area you service. So in your case, maybe something like CapeCoralHomeValues.com, and point it to this page, okay? So it becomes a one-page website at that address. Once you have that landing page created, there is no end to the ways that you can market it to your database or to the public. So think about this. What about a Facebook status update, right? When you have that domain name ready, you can go on Facebook and say, hey, most of you know I'm a realtor. If you want to find out what your neighbors' houses are selling for, go to capecoralhomevalues.com. Right? That's just a simple Facebook status update. We have Craigslist ads that we've already created that we can help you place in your local Craigslist. You guys can actually explore this in Top Producer. If you're in Top Producer and you go to your Applications menu, you'll see one of the items is Craigslist Ad Creator. You can actually go to that page now even without Snapshot just to check it out. But basically you're able to build an HTML Craigslist ad, put it in your local Craigslist. We have some text we suggest using, but again, that call to action of find out what your neighbors' houses are selling for is a really powerful one. So Craigslist ads is a great place to expose the landing page, Facebook ads as well. And you guys can be creative with this, right? So once you've got the landing pages set up, you can broadcast that really wherever you want. You can put a link in your email signature, right? So lots of different ways of communicating that, and one of the ways we always suggest is if you don't have people's physical addresses, right? Let's say you just have a list of emails, send out an email blast through Top Producer to invite those people to sign up. And in fact, working with Diane and her team over the last week, they've actually inputted a custom message in your Top Producer. So I'm just going to log in as Diane here and show this to you guys. Bear with me here. Of course, I have Diane's password memorized after this long. So, Diane, can you tell me whereabouts in the email library that you guys decided to put this?
Yes, it's in the Team Abishan eBlast.
Okay, perfect. So we're going to go into the Team Abishan eBlast here. Bear with me. Here we go. And for Market Snapshot, this message has already been created, okay? So check this out, guys. We would have to customize this slightly to put in your landing page link, but this is already created. So you can send this out to your prospects. Now, I worked with a couple in Denver last week. We loaded 900 people. They were brand new to Top Producer. We loaded 900 people into their database. Now, granted, these are people that they had some relationships with, right, in the past, but a lot of them they couldn't even remember how they got in their database. We modeled this message after the one that they sent out. I forwarded over to Diane and said, hey, we need to do something similar to this, but not totally rip them off, if you will. So Diane was, as usual, created something amazing for you guys. So the idea is to send this out. Now, that case example I just gave you, 900 people we sent out that message to on behalf of Darren and Tracy Reed, some clients I have in Colorado. And they got 27 people signed up to Market Snapshot in a 24-hour period. Okay, so that's from their own database, but that's a huge response. And every one of those 27 people will now receive a Market Snapshot automatically, branded for those guys every single month, right? So
let's give that credit. We got to give that credit to Lainey.
Okay, Lainey wrote this one. All right, thanks, Lainey. If you're tuned in, this is awesome. So this is a message that's in there as a suggestion, and we're going to talk about, obviously, again, this email will not work on its own because you're seeing a huge blank spot that I've just highlighted where your website would need to be. But if you end up wanting to try or use Market Snapshot, circle back with me directly, and we'll create a customized version of this email for you to send out to your entire database. Really, really simple. But, yeah, so was there a question there?
I had a question earlier, if on that walking data, it's a rating. How does that rating system work? I saw an 8 and 11 up there.
Yeah, it's the walk score is out of 100. All right, so we take the walking distance, we measure that, and basically it comes up with a walk score, if you will, out of 100 points. So showing an 8 out of 100, it depends on who your audience is, right? If these people are elderly and they'd be taking scooters everywhere anyway, you know what I mean? A walk score may not be that important to them. But if you're dealing with younger people, I think it certainly is. So it just kind of depends on your audience, but it is a walk score out of 100 when we look at that number.
Thank you.
Luke,
yeah, you're welcome.
One more question, please. When we're working with home buyers or sellers, the two main things of concern are not only area, but also if it's waterfront or off-water. Is there a way to separate the waterfront and off-water properties on the snapshot?
There is. So if you actually look at, notice the second snapshot we did for Jeff, where we've isolated it just to his neighborhood on this side, essentially. What's the street called? I'm not able to see the name of it. Yeah. But so I wouldn't say necessarily that every home in this is waterfront per se, although it does look like they are.
They are.
But we actually used MLS area for this. So let me see if I can actually. No, I need to log back in as Jeff to do it. Jeff or Natalie, are you with us?
Yes, I am.
Okay. So you remember when we created this? What was the MLS criteria that we used to drill down to the? I just can't remember exactly what you refer to it as in your MLS.
What we did is we went in and we created it specifically to Cape Harbor. But
There we go.
You are able to make it waterfront, not waterfront. When you go into the advanced search tab, it does narrow it down. Basically the same way it narrows down in Matrix.
Right. So.
Can you box an area? Can you box an area you want to look at or highlight similar to what we can do in Matrix today? Or
Right. You're not able to draw, and thank you, Natalie, for that answer. I appreciate it. You're not able to draw a circle on a map. And the reason is, guys, we deal with over 700 MLSs that have Market Snapshot, and a lot of them use different systems from each other. So we needed a uniform way of querying each MLS, and the best way to do that was just simply to tap into the criteria they offer, which is done in more of a list format than it would be in drawing a radius on a map. But fortunately, just from a quick look at the Cape Coral settings, being able to drill down into these MLS sub-areas, I think will help you a lot in terms of narrowing down your subject area. But at this point, no, we don't have the ability to draw it on a map.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Okay, so let's talk about a couple more things that we've just announced with Market Snapshot. Firstly, we've talked about the fact that the snapshot is sent out automatically, right? And you can choose the intervals at which it's sent out. But we've now also included the ability to turn on listing alert emails. So this is actually kind of playing a little bit of catch up with your MLS, but check this out. These are the emails that go out, and you can turn these on or off for new listings, price reductions, or solds. Okay, so there's 3 different styles of listing alerts. So if you turn on all 3 of these alerts, anytime your client or prospect, anytime there's a new listing, a price reduction, or a sold in their snapshot area, that matches that criteria, they'll receive an email like this on demand from you. And as you can see, these emails are branded. They come from your email address. You can click through to a details page, and we actually advise when people do that. So, and here on the details page, they can swipe through the photos. Right, so this kind of does take the place to a degree of what your MLS is doing in terms of drips. But the important thing is you can turn on or off any of those 3 different styles of alerts. So if we go back into Top Producer and we go to create a market snapshot, and actually I'm logged back in as you here, Diane, so bear with me here. And we'll find my brother again here. I'm always picking on him. There we go. All right, so back to my point. When we go to create a new market snapshot, you will see that, first of all, yes, you can decide the intervals at which it's sent out, but then you can also choose to turn on or off any one of those 3 styles of listing alerts. And I'll share with you a strategy I like to suggest. If this is a brand new lead, and by the way, guys, if you're buying leads from any electronic provider, Zillow, Trulia, Realtor.com, or anywhere where you're receiving electronic leads, we can set up Market Snapshot to be an automated response to those leads. So every lead that comes in gets an automated Market Snapshot based on the property they're inquiring about. And that's without you having to lift a finger. So keep that in mind. If you have lead sources, we can really integrate nicely with them.
Hey, Lou.
But getting back, yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, does that include the agents that are set up on 5th Street?
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yes. So if you are claiming leads on 5th Street, we could set this up so when that lead arrives, after you've claimed it, they receive a market snapshot automatically. Absolutely.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
Cool.
I have a question. So again, how does that market snapshot get calculated? In other words, if you go back to that opening page where you had that map and that property listed, is that an example of what would get generated?
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
The
Yeah.
concern I have about that map right there is that property of Jeff's is in a premier waterfront community. And
Correct.
that map, I see dry lots in, crazy parts of town, which absolutely have no relevance to that property.
Right.
Therefore, I see why he, narrowed it down to that one particular area. But if you're saying that they'll automatically get something like this based on an address, I'm not sure that would be relevant to the property in question.
Well, there's it depends on how you want to approach Market Snapshot and how automated you want it to be. I mean, if you have that concern, you can set up Market Snapshot to not send automatically, but rather to send it to you first, so you can tweak it before it goes out. I mean, if you're concerned about narrowing it down, right?
Yes, I am. That's great. Okay, so I've got the override capability.
You do, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah, and it's kind of a fine line to walk there. I mean, you want someone to have that instant response if they sign up on your landing page. However, if you want to have a bit or control over what's going out, then certainly just put yourself in the middle there, right?
Yeah, well, yeah, because my point is, based on what I saw right there on the screen, I would not want that going out to my customer at that address. Sure, and that's fine. It makes perfect sense. And again, that's exactly why we went ahead and created a second snapshot a few seconds later that narrowed it down, right? Okay, yep, perfect. Thank you.
Cool, you're welcome. So getting back to a bit of strategy for you guys, what I would suggest for a brand new lead is put them on a 4-week market snapshot and turn off the 3 listing alert emails. You don't want them being bombarded by emails necessarily unless they're close to the market. So that's a new lead. Once they become a hotter prospect, I would speed them up to a weekly market snapshot and turn on all 3 listing alerts. Right? People who are in the market want to be bombarded by information. So now you've got every bit of info you can going out to this person. When they become your past client, ideally, you would want to set this up for a quarterly market snapshot and maybe leave just the sold alerts on. Have that conversation with them. Hey, do you still want to know when someone's home sold? Because you're only going to be getting your snapshot every quarter, right? So that's up to you. But that's how I would approach sort of the different phases of the life cycle of a lead. And think about bringing this into your listing appointments as well. I mean, if you can say to a prospect, another agent might send you a thank you card once a year, right? I will send you a detailed State of the Union on the value of your investment every quarter until you decide to move again, right? Who do you think they're going to list with if those are their choices? You know what I mean? So it creates a real it's a really powerful tool for your presentations as well as your retention as well as your prospecting, right? It can really be used every step of the way. So one other thing to note, once you've got people set up on Market Snapshot, okay, you've set up your whole database, you've put your lead capture form out there, you've put it on Facebook, people are signing up there as well, you can actually go into the Market Snapshot control panel and see who's opening your snapshot, how often they look at it, and when they're looking at it. Okay, so if I'm in Top Producer, I can go to my Market Snapshot control panel, and I can actually go ahead and run a report. So if I want to see everybody that's viewed my Market Snapshot in the last, let's say, 4 months, we go to the viewed status and we click on Reload Report. Okay, so this is where you want to concentrate your efforts. I mean, if you see somebody hasn't opened their snapshot in 6 months and all of a sudden they open it 5 times in one day, that's the person you want to drill down on, right? On the home page of the Market Snapshot control panel, we've got your new inquiries. So these will be leads that came in, through a lead capture form. Again, your snapshots that are recently viewed. And if any have happened to fail, like sometimes you'll have a small tweak in the, you'll forget a comma, for instance, in the price range or something along those lines, and the system will let you know, hey, that snapshot didn't work, and let's try and send it out again. So, so this is kind of where you monitor your Market Snapshot activity, right? And again, this is all accessible through Top Producer. So if you're in Top Producer, Applications, Control Panel, and you're there. So very much integrated with what you're doing already. Now, once you're sending out Market Snapshots, this is something new we've done as well. You guys hopefully now are all familiar with Follow-Up Coach, all right? You know what's going on there. We're reminding you of people in your database that you're not interacting with. Well, we've just added Market Snapshot recipients as a category. Now, if you've looked in your Follow-Up Coach settings, as I'll click on here, you won't see them in here. The Market Snapshot setting for Follow-Up Coach is automatic, and all it means is If you send out a market snapshot to somebody and they haven't opened it in 3 days, they haven't viewed it at all, we will tell you in Follow-Up Coach. And when you click on one of these people, you'll notice in our email library in Follow-Up Coach, we've added a new message called Did You Receive the Market Snapshot? So you can just plug in that message, and really simple. It's just kind of reminding them that you sent it out and offering your help or your assistance in the future. So we've thought of this already, right? And we're going to remind you of those people. You don't even have to go into the control panel and check out their stats. We'll just remind you if someone hasn't opened it in 3 days, and you can send this out simply through the Follow-Up Coach. So this is all built in as well. Now, we have a couple of other tools you can use with Market Snapshot. The one I really like is called Bright Open. For anyone that does open houses, you'll appreciate this. So Bright Open, very simply, is meant to help generate open house leads, is ultimately the goal. But we do this by having Bright Open replace the traditional open house sign-in sheet. Okay, so you guys, if you've done an open house, you've all had, the pad of paper open. People are reluctant to put their information down there for a couple of reasons. One is people just don't like giving their information for free. And secondly, they know their name's going to be sitting there all day on that list for other people to look at. Do you know what I mean? And people are more sensitive to that than ever. So what Bright Open does is essentially you're looking at it here. You guys can actually go and check this out. It won't work without Snapshot, but the address is brightopen.realtor.com. And the idea here is before your open house begins, you sign in to Bright Open. And what you're doing here is selecting your MLS and putting in your agent ID number, and you validate that you are an agent, first of all. And I can't go through this, again, because I'm not an agent, but I can describe to you what would happen. So once you're logged in as yourself, we show you your inventory. If you're showing a home that you have listed, you just select the home from your inventory. If you're showing a home that isn't your listing, you can just type in the MLS ID number to attach the Bright Open to that listing. So my point is, before your open house even begins, you go into Bright Open and you set up the home you're showing as the subject property for every market snapshot that's going to be created during that open house. Okay, so you've already put in the criteria, and it's going to be the same for everyone. As people are arriving at your open house, rather than passing them a pad and paper, you pass them your iPad or your laptop or your smartphone, or just have it open at the front door, and they pop in their name and their email address, and they're automatically signed up to receive a market snapshot based on the home that you're showing. Right? So if you want to have a sample market snapshot open, this one's for the Seattle area now, we're bouncing around the country here. Here we go. If you want to have this open and say, look, I understand you may not want to buy this property, but I can keep you updated on everything that's going to sell in this neighborhood and how much each home sold for, as well as any new listings that arrive on the market that are similar to this one. And I'll send you a detailed report every week or every 2 weeks, however often you want to receive it. So for every nosy neighbor or a tire kicker or a person who can't afford the property you're showing, right, those people can still sign in through Bright Open. When they do that, they go automatically into your top producer, book a business. They get their first market snapshot sent to them automatically as well. And a lot of times that'll happen while they're still in the upstairs bedrooms, do you know what I mean, or checking out the pool outside, whatever it may be. But that's really, really a neat tool for them to receive a snapshot on the home they're already inside and looking at. And again, you're only ever going to have a maximum one buyer for that property. So what about all the other 20 or 30 or 40 people that came through your open house or open houses? How are you going to capture those people and turn them into clients? Well, if they're all getting a market snapshot from you every 2 weeks or every 4 weeks, that hopefully that next step should be a lot simpler, right? So open house leads, Bright Open is the name of the app. Any questions there from you guys at all?
Yes, I have one. What kind of an area loop relevant to that home? How far out does it go?
Well, it would be defined as by zip code, but you can also tweak those settings as well. Right. So, I haven't tested Bright Open in the Cape Coral area because Snapshot is so new to us. So let me find out the exact answer on that, and whether it's just simply zip code based or whether you're able to tweak the advanced settings on the way through. And I'll let you know.
That's a great question, because today if I have somebody come through an open house, I'll set them up exactly the same way in Matrix.
Right.
I'll say, what area are you interested in, and I'll box it off, and they'll get that, right? And so,
right.
I have the ability to override it like you talked about before.
Right.
Because I wouldn't want them to get that basic view right there. I'd want to have it very customized to them.
Sure, understood. Well, and you know what? If Bright Open isn't doing the trick in that sense, and you can test it out before people arrive at the open house, so you know exactly what they would be getting, right? There's not going to be any mystery there.
Right.
But if you're finding that it is too broad, we could potentially just set up your top producer and give you a lead capture form that will bring those people into top producer, but not set them up on Snapshot yet. And then you just go through them one at a time and do it.
Right.
So there's certainly we can make it happen. It's just a matter of keying into the workflow of Bright Open, because I'm quite sure in other areas Bright Open has focused on zip code. So we may want to look at narrowing that down depending on the area you're working in, right?
Yep.
I think ideally if they could tweak the report somehow before it goes out, then I think that would be ideal. That's the idea.
Yeah, well, that's fine. Then we just set them up to not auto-send automatically, and at the end of your open house, you've got a few inquiries to deal with. But if you're setting them all up the same way, it's really not going to take a lot of time, right?
And two things, all of us are hoping for 20 to 30 visitors at the open houses.
Right. Is that a little bit optimistic?
It's a little optimistic, but hey, it's
Okay.
so we're just going to run with it.
Okay, sounds good. Well, here in Vancouver, it's more like 40 or 50, and those are just offers. You know what I mean? So, yeah, we're in a bit of a different situation here, but I hear you.
And then, Luke, I just wanted to throw this out. When you start to sum up this, I just want to make sure that we really hit on those points why this is different or better or more beneficial than setting people up through Matrix or I don't even think we're using Listing Book anymore. But
yeah.
the true, I think we just need to hit those hard so everybody's clear on that.
Yeah, for sure. Well, again, the fundamental difference here is, in my mind anyway, setting up a buyer on listing drips through Matrix is great for the active buyer. Okay, so although if you look at our listing alert emails, like the ones I showed you earlier, potentially these could even replace that. But Matrix is great for the active buyer, but that's a very niche group in your database. So what about all your past clients? What about your sellers? What about your buyers who aren't going to buy for 2 or 3 years? They don't necessarily want every listing, right? So that's, to me, the versatility of Snapshot, and the wider audience really distinguishes it from what the MLS offers. And then, of course, the other flip side of it is our lead capture pages like this one, right? I mean, the MLS really doesn't offer anything that works on a seller level like this in terms of what your home is worth. So, yeah, universal audience. And, I mean, I have one client who sends out 6,000 snapshots. They go out automatically on his behalf every month, and it is literally his only source of repeats and referrals. So that's a very extreme situation. Not a lot of you guys have 6,000 people in your database, but even if you only have 600, if every one of them was getting a snapshot from you every month automatically, again, you're not having to lift a finger to make this happen, how many more conversations, introductions, appointments could that potentially generate, right? And if you're looking for something to talk about with people, if they're already getting a market snapshot, it makes that phone call that much easier. I mean, when you're getting a lead from a page like this, you know a couple of things about them already. They're familiar with your branding, and they've already received something of value from you, which is their first market snapshot. So it just, again, makes that introduction that much more simple. But to me, those are the fundamental differences. Is there anything you'd add there, Diane?
No, I think that covers it. I think what I like about it is we're giving our prospects something that they can chew on, some really good, valuable information. It's not all fluff.
Right, exactly. I mean, hey, there's nothing wrong with recipe cards, but if you ask the average consumer what they would rather receive, you know what I mean, the answer will be pretty obvious. Pretty obvious. Yeah. So you're probably wondering a bit about pricing, because this is not something that's just free that comes with Top Producer. And in fact, if you look at the list price on our website, we charge $64.95 a month for Market Snapshot as a list price. But because of what we've been able to do thus far with you guys in Top Producer, we were able to secure a monthly rate of Market Snapshot of $39.95 a month. instead of $65. So you're saving $25 a month on it. That does cover you for unlimited market snapshots. Okay, again, 6,000 was the example I just gave. There's no cap on it at all. And it's a permanent discount, so you're not going to see it going back up to $65 a month. It would remain at $39.95 a month. But it is something that each one of you individually can choose to opt into or not. If you'd like to explore it, if you have more questions for me, if you'd like even a more in-depth demo, or if you'd like to try it out, you'll need to call me direct, because if you call our frontline guys, they won't know what we're talking about, and they'll try and charge you full price. So we're doing this very much internally. So all of you guys should have my number. If you don't, Diane has it. And the ways.
Say it with me, margetv.com.
Of course. Thank you, Diane. So if you don't remember my information, you can go to our new training site, margetp.com, and you will find my number here in the lower left area, right there with my extension and my email. So that's an easy way to find me. The way this works, we do give a 30-day money-back guarantee on your first month, so you've got a month to try it out. If you're not happy, we'll refund it back to you. And then beyond that, there is a 1-year agreement for Snapshot, so it is kind of a 12-month commitment. But, I mean, if you're thinking about it and how it's being sent out automatically to people, you probably don't want to cut them off anyway. I mean, think of it as a career-long tool to use, not just a 12-month commitment. But we do give you 30 days to check it out in advance. With a money-back guarantee is what I'm trying to say. So that's kind of the individual details, and you guys would be responsible for Snapshot on your own, but we will tie it to your top producer account, so everything will work kind of in tandem there, and you can create market snapshots through top producer.
Liz, do you want to pull up the email just to make sure I don't know if you still have the email that I sent out, that make sure we got all the points covered.
Yeah, I think I've got it over here to the right, Diane. So this would be the one right here. So, yeah, I think we've covered everything here. We talked about out-of-towners and snowbirds. Diane and I talked about this. We haven't touched on it with you guys, but certainly this is an excellent tool for your snowbirds if they own property in Cape Coral to stay updated and stay in the loop when they're not in town. Do you know what I mean? When they're off up and they're having their summers in Maine or wherever they go. So I think that's definitely an important one to bring up. But beyond that, I think, Diane, we did cover everything except the kind of the snowbird aspect of it. So if you're looking at this in terms of next steps, you know, it's a great idea once you get Market Snapshot to send one to yourself based on your own home. Now, much like in Top Producer, if you're sending out a mass email, we advise to send it to yourself first to test it out. We can help you do the same thing with Market Snapshot. But all we want to do here is provide new ways to generate more business for you guys. Yes, Snapshot has a cost. Think of it as investing in your own infrastructure of your own business. And again, ask yourself how much more business you could generate if every prospect was getting this from you automatically every month. And if you can generate a few leads on top of that, you know, even better. I mean, you guys know how much leads cost these days. So if you can generate an unlimited number of leads at a fixed cost, you're in a lot better spot than if you're paying $30 for every Zillow lead that comes in. You know what I mean? So that's all I've got as far as Snapshot goes, but I'll certainly open the floor for any questions here, guys. Anyone have any questions out there?
Questions? No. Anything at the sales center, lady? She's there.
The guys are in the conference room. I'm not sure if they have any questions.
Okay.
Yes, I do have a question.
Okay.
For the what's it called? The market update. Do we need, if we already have a website with a ULR, whatever that is, can we just add that to there?
Yes, you can, and that's something that I've neglected to mention, but certainly we talked about the standalone landing page like this, right? You can, if you'd like, you can add this to your existing website as its own page, or we actually have some smaller, what are referred to as widgets, so, you know, smaller versions of our lead capture form that you can tuck into the corner or a sidebar on your website. But absolutely, if you've already got a website, we would want to build this in. And if you've got a website with traffic, even better. We can take advantage of that traffic. But certainly, we could look at doing that.
Okay, the other question is, as I'm looking at the page that you just put up there, it says enter your street, city. So, like, I have a base of people throughout the United States. If they put in their address outside of Cape Coral or outside of Florida, are they going to be able to pull up their information for where they're at, or is this strictly going to be for our MLS?
Strictly for your MLS. In fact, when you set up Snapshot, and part of the reason why it took us a while to get from A to B is we had to, first of all, hammer out an agreement with the MLS, where we pay the money essentially. But then when you log in to set this up, you actually have to put in your MLS username and password, or at least your username, so that we know you have a legal right to the data you're going to use. So if you have out-of-town clients, like the example you just gave, you won't be able to create snapshots based on where they're living now. But I've got quite a referral network that I run with my Market Snapshot people. So if you've got somebody who, let's say, spends their summers in Massachusetts, I could probably find an agent there for you to work with. So let me know, and we can do a bit of a referral dance, if you will. But that would be kind of the way to approach it. And I have some agents who even just Google it. If they have somebody, let's say, they'll Google Philadelphia Market Snapshot and just find an agent that's using it and reach out to them and say, hey, look, I'm in Cape Coral. We both have Market Snapshot. Maybe we can work together with this person, right? So you have to be a little bit inventive there. But the short answer to your question is yes, you are limited to your MLS area.
Okay.
Now, if they don't have a house here yet and they have no address to put in there, what do they do? Can they just put in the city or zip code or something?
Exactly. So when you go to create a snapshot, yes, you can put in a specific address, which is great if you have one. But if you don't, you can just focus on other criteria. So let me see if I can find that same example here, and I'll give you an idea. Let's see here. Yeah, so when you go to create a market snapshot, if they have a home address, obviously it will build around that home address and focus on it. But if they don't, you can, as you'll see here, and for some reason my system's just hesitating a little here, guys. But the answer is you can select a specific address, or you can go by area. So you'll notice here when we go for a buyer snapshot, for instance, you can go by street address, or you can go to zip, which would be pretty wide, or you can click on Advanced at the bottom of the page, and now we start opening up things like area and subdivision. So you can really drill down like we did with Jeff's second snapshot we used as an example there. Now this is not your MLS, so it'll look a bit unfamiliar. This is Northwest MLS up in Seattle. But you get the idea. When you go to the matrix now and you set up a buyer, any criteria that's available for you there will also be available in Snapshot to help you narrow down the results. So in this case, you'd want to focus on area, and for a buyer, obviously put in price range as well. And because you can put in a price range, that's really going to help narrow down the comps on their snapshot so that you won't have that example of somebody who's looking for waterfront seeing a $250,000 property that's buried in a subdivision. Do you know what I mean? That's just not going to happen. So the price range helps narrow down the criteria as well. Hopefully that answers your question.
Well, what about on that landing page? If you go back to that, let's say we put that on our website, and somebody wants to sign up for it, but they don't have an address, is it going to let them do it there? I mean,
Right. Well, this is more of a seller tool, right? What's your home worth, right? So we're talking to people who are looking to sell their home, and when they start entering their address, we actually predict that address for them. And once they see their address there, they click on it, we already know how many bedrooms, bathrooms, and square footage they have, okay? But it is going to create it by zip code. So when someone submits this, again, they can get a report automatically, or you can get an alert that says, hey, they've signed up, and you can tweak it before it's sent out to them, okay? But this is not really a buyer's tool.
for a buyer.
We do have a buyer's tool. So let me pull that up for you here. Bear with me, and we'll find it for you. Yeah, no worries at all. And these are kind of our older landing pages. Let me see if I can find one for you here. Bear with me.
Exactly. No, I get Canadian dollars, so.
Get better.
I live in Karen.
What's that?
I said I get Canadian because I'm from there. How's home today? dark there yet, isn't it?
It is dark, yes.
I know.
getting darker, yeah. Yeah. Let me see if I can find one here for you. Bear with me here. TMK samples. See, we have these guys here. These are our older style landing pages. Let's see if they'll show us one here.
And we wouldn't have that problem. Right? We don't want the minus.
Right, that makes more sense, I would think, you know.
Yeah, so these landing pages, these ask for a bit more information. And I wish I could show you one here. They've just actually changed the way they've set this up. But basically, in these landing pages, we ask them if they're a buyer or a seller first. Okay, and if they say they're a buyer, then we ask them about their price range in their area. So not a specific address. So, yeah, and I apologize, these guys are kind of small here. Seeing if I can find one for you here. Bear with me here. Let's see here. Yeah, I'll have to see if I can find one for you guys and send it over. Bear with me here. Oh, here we go. This is an example. So this is one of our smaller widgets that I was talking about earlier, okay? So so this can be tucked in the corner of your website. We do have some full landing pages that use this as well. But basically, when we put in our information here, and we say, hey, I'm a buyer, the next set of questions asks them about their preferences.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, so that's where you'd have things like price range, et cetera. So depending on the audience you're looking at, right, you can decide sort of which one is more appropriate.
And how does the agent get that?
We have basically a whole area. I mean, one way you can do it is go to our landing page builder for these style of pages here, and you can choose your landing page and build it here. If you want a smaller widget like this one, it's available in the back end of Market Snapshot in the control panel, where you can build your widget, choose the colors, and then we give you a code essentially to frame it into your website. But my suggestion is just call me or call Jason, and we'll walk you through it, because it's a lot easier than sourcing this on your own.
And that's all included. That's nothing extra.
That's correct. Yeah, all the landing pages, everything's included in that $40 a month. The only thing that has an extra cost would be a domain name to point to the landing page, and you're talking $10 or $12 a year. So it's, and you may already have domain names that you're not using, but you'd want to think about that as, small added cost.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like we might have some agents calling you for some one-on-one.
Yeah, no worries. That's what we're here for, guys, for sure. We're happy to do it.
We could make this the workshop tomorrow for 30 minutes.
Yeah, we could do that for sure. Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, and I mean, I'll be at my desk throughout the day. So again, we want to make sure everybody has the Marge TP site bookmarked first and foremost, and that's not just for this purpose. That's for your own benefit in terms of training, links, resources, and right at the homepage of margetp.com is my info. So easy to get a hold of.
And Luke, I just sent you an email if you would just send me all the follow-up information and the free trial and all that, and then I'll send it out.
Yeah, that sounds great. That sounds awesome, Diane. I will do that for you. And before we let you guys go and kind of get on with your day, are there any last-minute questions here?
No. Okay. All good.
All right. Great stuff, guys. Well, I really appreciate your time. Good luck out there today, and I'm here again for any questions.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, guys. Take care.
Later.
Bye for now.
Bye.
Gee, I can't believe he did this at what time?